What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the offensive position grades, revisiting our grades from earlier this year, as well as the NBA draft, and of course, our Kickouts of the week. What's going on, everybody? Before we get into this week's episode, I just want to thank you all for watching and listening and kindly remind you to please like, comment, subscribe, download, press all the buttons you can to support us. Watch us on YouTube, Dom and Pop Podcast, and check us out on Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, all the good listening services at Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus Podcast. Make sure to give us a download and make sure to also follow us at DC Sports Plus on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks a lot, guys.
Beautiful. Wow.
Thank you. You know, Pop, I couldn't have done it without your creative direction.
Exactly. That's producer extraordinaire.
Yep, that's what I needed. You sitting there and just looking at the camera with that 1,000-yard stare. There's no way I could have got through that. What a wonderful week to be Italian, guys. Welcome. What a week. What a win for our people. Everybody,
absolutely.
Welcome
Celebratory
back.
pod this week.
Yes, welcome back to the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. We want to start off this episode shouting out Paolo Banchero, first Italian pick, #1 overall in the NBA draft. Let's go! Woo!
Let's go! Woo! Perfect
Yes.
pronunciation, son. Banchero.
Yes,
Get that right,
yes.
people.
Thank you. Everybody. So he's our second official athlete of the DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. So happy to welcome you to the roster. You'll have your merch in the mail. You know, we'll get you right, Paolo. Come on for an episode. Yeah, what a week.
Awesome. You know, my beautiful wife, MC, has told me that I don't smile enough on these pods, especially since we've been on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I got a little bit of, you were talking about me critiquing you. I got a little bit of a critique, but nothing's going to make me smile more than starting off the pod this way.
You know,
let's go.
It reminds me, there's a great Sebastian Maniscalco comedy bit about how Italians, we stay in our lane. You know, we stick to like bricklaying and construction and kind of our trades. And he says, you don't see an NBA player if you see a guy in the NBA, his last name's DiVincenzo, you're not sitting there screaming, get the ball to DiVincenzo. But now we're cheering for Banchero to get the ball. Kid's gonna be a superstar.
In fairness,
I'm so
he
excited.
probably got a lot of help from his mom, Rhonda Smith, who was a star college basketball player. But
definitely,
you know, yeah,
definitely. But all right, so what do you say we get down to it, Pop?
Let's do it.
All right, so with that out of the way, we'll revisit the NBA draft a little bit later. But of course, you guys are here for Commanders talk. Let's get down to the Commanders. This week, we thought it'd be fun to revisit the position grades that we did earlier in the offseason. We did them April 11th. So basically 2 months later, almost 3 months later at this point. So we can kind of revisit that, see how we're feeling post-draft, post-free agency, kind of slowing down, and, you know, see how that compares.
I like it. Let's do it.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, let's start off. You want to start off right at the top, Pop? The hot button issue of the offseason, quarterback, Carson Wentz. What do you think?
Yeah, and, maybe before we get started real quick, right? We're not ignoring the whole Dan Snyder stuff. We kind of are. That's well covered by other podcasts, radio shows, all that stuff. when there's real news to report and there's something that they actually do about it, maybe we'll talk about it at that point.
Yep.
We're kind of with everybody else, tired of hearing it, wish something would finally go down and there'd be a change. But we're here to entertain and try to take you away from all the seriousness that's out there in the world.
Yep.
So, yeah, let's get into the position grades. I like it.
I mean, we figure you've probably been hearing every update or non-update from every other Commander source over the course of the week. If you're big fans like us, you never stop listening. So we figure we provide you a little bit of escape, and we're just going to talk football. Have fun with that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll just go ahead and start with our quarterback, Carson Wentz. Obviously, since April 11th, we have a new face around the quarterback room, Mr. Sam Howell. He's there. So I gave it a C+ for Carson. I'm going to stick there. I don't think Sam Howell over Kyle Allen moves the needle enough for me to move my grade. And I think although we got some positive camp reports from Carson Wentz, I don't want to get too Ashburn syndromed in the middle of June. And I'm going to stick it a C+ for me. What do you think, Pop?
Wow, I'm a little surprised by that. So what we're doing, just to be clear, is we're referring to the grades we gave back on our 5th pod on April 11th, and we're updating those grades. I'm surprised, son. I thought with the positive news on Carson, you'd be a little higher than that. I was at a B-. I do like the Sam Howell pick. I do like what we've seen out of Carson on the offseason. I'm going to go with a solid B.
There you go.
Upgrade just a little bit to a B.
There you go. I like it. Yeah, for me, it's just not it's all stuff that I wanted to hear, and it's all stuff that I expected we would hear, given what we gave up for him and, how highly Ron and company spoke of getting him. So far, haven't seen anything on the field yet. I'm going to leave it at a C. But wide receiver, this one was famously underrated on the Pop side, I think. You had a C-. I had a B-.
I upgraded. I started at a D+ and ended with a C-.
I remember that.
Came out on fire.
I had at a B- at this position. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up to a B+. I'm gonna skip over B. I'm gonna go B+, only because Curtis Sidefield Samuel has been on the side field. Otherwise, I'd probably move this up into an A-. But if Samuel can get healthy, maybe we'll see an even bigger jump. But love the Dotson pick. Now that I've calmed down, took me a few weeks to kind of get over missing on Jameson Williams. But love the Dotson pick. He's been lighting up camp. B natural for me. Normal B.
Yeah, I still have a lot of concerns because I think, although Dotson is definitely seems like the real deal, we just don't know until he's really out there. He is a rookie. No different feeling on Curtis Samuel. I'm gonna have to see it out on the field. It seems like he's still a little dicey with his injury. And then if you look at our backups, Cam Seams, Dimey Brown, Dax Milne, does anyone there really excite you? So I don't know. I was C-. I was pretty harsh. I'll upgrade it to a C+ at this point because of Dotson's showing respect. But that is a grade that can scale pretty quick. Obviously if Dotson's everything he's supposed to be. Plus there's still uncertainty around Terry. So I'll go C+ at wide receiver.
Wow. So still famously pessimistic at the wide receiver position for you there. Yeah, I got faith we'll get it done with Terry, so not worried about that, but some good points there for sure, Pop. So offensive line, I had an A-. You had a B+. Why don't you go ahead and give your grade for this one? Kick it off.
Yeah, let's give a little recap here because I think, we don't give the offensive line too much love. So we lost Brandon Flowers and Brandon Sheriff, our 2 starting guards, right?
Yeah.
We did pick up Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner. Shocking Carolina Panther connections there. But they do seem like 2 really solid players. We still have Wes Schweitzer that's a potential battling it out for a starting guard position. And I really do feel good about the offensive line and the depth. So Charles Leonard, Andrew Norwell, Chase Ruyer, Wes Schweitzer, or Trey Turner will be starters, as well as Sam Cosme, who played really well.
Yep.
Cornelius Lucas is a really good backup. I think we got some good options at center for backup. Shadiq Charles is still out there, who we were pretty high on as a draft pick last year. So, yeah, I think, just see, I was at a B+. I'll bump it up to an A-. I feel really confident with the O-line group and the depth, which I really like.
Yep. Yeah, I was feeling pretty good. I had A minus. I'm gonna stick there just because I think pretty much it's all been lateral moves in terms of the people that have come and gone. Obviously, losing Sheriff, we knew that was gonna happen for like a year now at this point, so I'm sure that was factored into my A minus grade at the time. I'm gonna stick at A minus. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but I'm gonna hang out there. So let's jump over to running back. This is another place that we made some big changes, maybe some surprisingly unexpected changes at running back here with the addition of Brian Robinson. So I had a B, you had a B as well. I'll start here. I'm gonna move that up to a B plus. I really like the addition of Brian Robinson, and the only reason I'm not gonna bump this up to an A is that I'm still concerned about Antonio Gibson's fumbling and his ability to stay healthy, but primarily his fumbling. I didn't know this, but he actually led the NFL in fumbles since he's been our running back. So I'm pretty concerned about that. But I do like the backup plan in Robinson Jr. And I think that, if it comes down to it, if it ends up being kind of a 60-40 split for carries between the two of them, and then with McKissick out of the backfield, I like that situation there. So I'll go B plus.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I like B plus as well. I do like the addition of Brian Robinson. I think now you got a really good mix where Jarrett Patterson, Brian Robinson, more you're between the tackles,
Traditional running backs.
and then hopefully we get Gibson more involved in the pass game, but put some pressure on him. He's got to hold on to that ball. And Brian Robinson apparently never fumbles.
Nope.
I mean, he's kind of known for not fumbling and putting some extra emphasis on that. But yeah, B plus because of the addition of Robinson. I like the running back group a lot.
Yeah, me too. I think something we missed in our running back group last year was that like 3rd and 3 running back, or like the 2nd and 7 running back to go get you 3 yards, go get you 3.5 yards. Because I mean, Gibson can rip you off 20, but he'll also go for 1 and 2 yards a lot of the times because he's looking to go get 20 rather than take the 3 or 4 that's ahead of him. So if we have that in Brian Robinson, if he turns out, which of course is a big if, he's a 3rd round pick, right? But if he turns out to give us that, I think we're going to see a way bigger jump in our offense than most people are giving it credit for right now. Tight end. This is another position we addressed. Wow, what a draft, right? Went all offensive, feels like. So I had a C minus. I was feeling pretty pessimistic about the Logan Thomas injury, and then my biggest point was like, okay, Bates was decent, but really? We're going to start week 1 with John Bates if Logan Thomas isn't healthy, and Carson Wentz, a guy that likes to find the tight end, we're really going to put the ball in John Bates' hands? Well, we went out and we got Cole Turner. We made a change there. We got a great receiving tight end, and he's huge target, big body. I really like this. This will probably be my biggest jump. I'm going to move from a C minus up to a B minus at tight end. I think we're in way better shape going into next year with Bates kind of being our 3rd guy rather than our 2nd. B minus for me at the tight end position. I feel better here.
So your grades are like creeping up there. I mean, are you ready to go 12 and 5 with your prediction over your 11 and 6? I mean, you're going to add a winner too?
We're going to get to the coaching staff grades later on down the line, and that will even out why I don't feel so good about this 11 and 6.
Mr. 11 and 6. I love it. But I think you actually underrate John Bates a bit. You hear Logan Paulson talk about him a lot. He's got a great catch radius. That seems to be the term of the day when you talk about receivers. I think he just does all the right things. When you look at him in terms of speed, you'd say, maybe he's not that impressive athletically, but I think he's a really solid, really good tight end. I don't think we can count on Logan Thomas at the beginning of the season. Hopefully he'll slowly get back from injury, though. I just feel like with Logan, he's one of those guys that as soon as he's on the field, he's going to make an impact.
Yep.
I think he's going to be there. And addition of Cole Turner, and maybe, who knows, maybe AGG sneaks in there and makes a contribution. Probably more of a practice squad guy at first, but maybe that's finally the right position for him. So, I like it. I mean, I was already at a B minus. I'll go to a solid B just because of Turner. Again, rookie. Don't know if we can count on him, but I'll go solid B at tight end.
Yep. And I mean, hey, I know we're creeping up there and grades are moving, but this is how it should go on a functional football team. You're adding pieces in the draft. You're seeing things go the right way in camp. Things are trending up. This is how you should be feeling at this time of the year. Now we'll get to our defensive position grades next week, and maybe we even out a little bit on that side of the ball. We'll see. But so yeah, great segment on the position grades there, Pop. That was a lot of fun. Great idea for this week. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But so real quick in some other headlines, I don't know if you want to, I'm just going to touch on them real quick and then give me your thoughts, Pop. Chase Young, hanging out with Von Miller out in Colorado, rehabbing, working out. And then Pro Football Focus has the Commanders' defensive line ranked number 2. So obviously we'll talk more about that with position grades next week. But what are your quick thoughts on those two Commanders-related on-the-field headlines?
Yeah, nothing but positive with Chase Young working out with Von Miller.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
For much more better workout partner, and he seems to be, out there in Colorado anyway, rehabbing. So great, love that. Yeah, I mean that PFF ranking, and if you read that article, and we're going to dive into that next week when we do the defense. I mean, they were even making a case for them being number 1. So encouraging. They were saying last year was more of an anomaly, but if you just look purely at the talent, definitely a strong case for the D-line. And I tell you what, if that's true, it would definitely have a huge impact on how our defense plays next year. So kind of exciting to see, surprising to see. But we'll get into that next week.
Definitely get into more of the details of that next week.
Teaser for next week.
Yeah. I'll give a small nugget real quick because I just can't help myself.
Go for it.
I think somebody at Pro Football Focus, I'm sure they're very in tune with what's going on around the league. I'm sure they also didn't watch all 17 Commanders games at the level of detail that we watched them last year.
Very likely.
So I think it's easy to look at the depth chart and say, wow, that's a lot of talent. That's 4 first-round picks on the defensive line. But we're going to have to address some of those systemic issues that we saw last year to get to that place. But I think we could get there. I like it. We'll talk about that next week, though. So with that, I mean, anything more football-wise you want to talk about, Pop?
Let's roll. Let's get on to the NBA and the Wiz.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
excited
get on
to talk about some Wiz.
On an NBA draft. Man, I don't know if it's just because we're potting this year or...
Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. All right. We'll roll with it in the background, but we gotta play it again.
Definitely. Yeah, so Banchero number 1. We talked about it a little bit. I know like the first 3 guys, we definitely knew those guys were going to go 1, 2, and 3, and it was kind of just a toss-up of what order. But Banchero number 1, pretty awesome. Pretty excited about that. Obviously, we're not Magic fans, but we'll be rooting for him for sure. Hope that turns out.
Not Magic fans, not Duke fans, but yeah, that was pretty cool to see. It seems like a really, great kid, and he does have his Italian citizenship as well. So, but yeah, I mean, I agree. At the top of that draft, it was hard to say. There was a lot of different opinions there, but I think Magic are going for upside. I think there with the Banchero pick, they feel like maybe he's got the most upside, and that's solid. But it seems like the top 3 between Banchero, Holmgren, and Smith. And even, I know you really liked Jaden Ivey, who went 5th to the Pistons, which is a little bit of a surprise. A lot of people really love Keegan Murray, so that hard to go wrong there. Any one of those guys could have went, really early there. But
I can't believe I am surprised about that Ivey going down to number 5, just because I really thought, everybody kind of thought that Sacramento would trade that pick if they weren't going to take Ivy, just because so many teams were interested and you figure get the capital. But I'm not quite as familiar with the NBA draft and how that kind of stuff works. So I guess I'll leave it to the experts. I don't know if they're experts down there in Sacramento based on how the teams have been playing, but hey, I'll leave it to the experts. So yeah, we went out and got Johnny Davis, and I was listening this week. I was listening to AWOD's show. And this really just fantastic analyst, he called in. It's from this local podcast. It's called the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast. And he did a great job of plugging the podcast. He gave a great analysis. And, he put this Johnny Davis kid on my radar as to who we were gonna pick, and turns out we picked him. So I mean, shout out to that guy. I can't really remember his name or where he's from, but shout out to that guy. He put me on to Johnny Davis.
This guy right here. This guy right here. The predictor extraordinaire.
Yes, sir.
Pick the Warriors to go all the way. Pick the Wiz draft pick, man. I got to start betting.
Hey, chief NBA analyst at the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast right here. Good job.
Yeah, a little
Pop.
background there. So it's like the night before the draft. So, Adam Epstein, a.k.a. AWOD, if you guys are Junkies fans, you'll know him. He used to work on the Junkie Show. He's actually got his own radio show in Richmond now on 910 The Fan, 105.1 The Fan. You can get it on the Odyssey app, so if you ever listen to 106.7 on Odyssey, you can get this as well. And he actually direct messaged me, and I think he's probably doing that with a lot of, connections that he's had. And he's always been, really supportive of us. He answers tweets. He actually listened to the pod and made some comments. So thanks to Adam for all of that. And yeah, I was like kind of nervous. He said, I want, call in during this segment and give your take on what you think will happen with the draft. And I actually called the Johnny Davis thing, which, I just kind of did a little bit of research and thought it through and didn't like these trade scenarios, trading up, because I really don't want to give up Kyle Kuzma. And which you seemed to be like that seemed like we had to give up Kuz in order to trade up. I don't know that, anyone else was of big enough interest. So, yeah, I mean, what can I say? Got it right.
And yeah,
Wojciechowski better watch out. I'm coming for you on ESPN.
We'll call it the pop bombs now instead of the Woj bombs when the news drops. It's a pop bomb.
I mean, got to do it.
But yeah, I like the Johnny Davis pick. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm glad we didn't go international this time I saw a pretty funny tweet. Maybe I can splice it in here. It's like the Wizards front office, and it's just Googled like best international players 2022, because we seem to just always kind of go left of center and it doesn't always work out. But Johnny Davis, I'm happy with that pick. It addresses a position of need, as you pointed out on the radio show. Comparable numbers to Jaden Ivey. I don't think he has the athletic ability, but that's why Ivey went 5 and Davis was there for us at 10. But I think he could develop into a really good piece for us. And the most important thing, Wisconsin, defensive-minded program. And Christ, do we need some defensive-minded players on the Washington Wizards for next year. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, actually, and learning more and more about it as I went. I really loved the pick. Big Ten Player of the Year. Wisconsin was champs. If you're preparing for the NBA, there aren't many conferences better than the Big Ten.
Definitely.
Big physical play. And people argue you got the better of Ivy in their head-to-head play. Not a pure point guard, but there just wasn't one at that point in the draft. So he is somebody that could maybe trade off and handling the ball with Beal, which is okay. And I do think that the Wizards are going to be looking for a point guard either in free agency or maybe there's still some trade options out there. They're not going to end it there. I think they're going to be looking for. They could end up starting, Johnny Davis and Beal in the backcourt, but you would be lacking that pure point guard if you did that. He could make a great 6-man coming off the bench. But, no, I really like the pick. I think he's better than the 10th player in this draft, when it's all said and done.
Yep, I agree. And I think this really puts us in a position to maybe go get like a 1-year deal on like a Schroeder or like a veteran point guard that's kind of out there and kind of sign him to a couple $1 million, just bring him in, let him play guard for us, and then obviously Johnny Davis can develop and maybe be that 6th man going forward. So yeah, pretty happy about that. What do you think about the Beal situation, Pop? I guess that's probably the next biggest headline, or maybe the biggest, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, speaking of Woj, I was reading a tweet just before we started where it said that now it's saying that it's very likely he's going to sign with the Wiz in the max, contract. Obviously, decline the 1-year option, which makes perfect sense. But then, you see rumors out there. You see that he's kind of leaving us hanging a bit and that he's still thinking about it. And he was watching the Celtics run and, got to thinking about that a little bit more. And, maybe signing with a team like that would be great. And he can but I don't know. We'll see. Obviously the team, Tommy Shepard was on with the Junkies on Friday. A really good interview. I tweeted it out. If you get the chance to check that out, Junkies had some really good content around the Wizards. Obviously the Wizards are all in with wanting to re-sign him. Wouldn't be shocked either way. I'd say I'll ask you the same question on what are the odds you think he comes back. I think it's at least 60-40, 65-35 that he's going to give it one more run with the Wizards. I hope at the very minimum it's a sign and trade if he does go, so we get something out of the deal.
Yep.
And you would think that he would try to at least do us that solid. But no, I'm pretty optimistic that Beal will be back.
To be honest, I agree. I think the Boston thing is a little overinflated because of the Tatum connection,
Probably,
obviously.
yeah.
But when you look at Brad Stevens in the front office there, and you look at the kind of program they've built in Boston, I don't think Beal is a good fit up there, to be honest. And I think it would probably be a sign and trade like you described, and I don't see them giving up the kind of piece that we would be asking for in that situation. I mean, I know it's not like when you do like a trade deadline where it's you get like a 1-to-1 reciprocation in value, but I don't see, based on what Beal could contribute up there, I don't think they really have a need for that type of player, and I don't see them giving up one of their role players or some picks or something like that for him. That just doesn't check out to me.
Yeah,
in my NBA front office mind. But hey, I'm just a podcaster. I'm not in NBA front offices, so who knows? I mean, maybe they make it work, right? But yeah, I'd say to go with your percentages.
Hey, you're part of the best Italian American father-son DC Sports Talk podcast team.
Damn
Don't
straight.
undersell yourself, son.
Damn straight. Number one. But yeah, I'd say I'm probably like 55-45 that Beal stays in DC. Probably not as optimistic as you about it, just because I'm traumatized from years of DC sports and nothing quite going right. So I can't feel too confident about it. But yeah, so the Beal thing it's a weird situation. If it ends up being a sign and trade, I'm going to be pretty bummed that we didn't trade him at the trade deadline last year, because we could have got buzzing of Jaylen Brown. Could have got that. That would have been cool. That would have been way better. But whatever. That worked out how it worked out. So anyways, Pop, what do you think about the roster for next year? What do you think? How you feeling about the Wiz in general? It's just a good time to kind of do a little bit of a Wiz recap this week.
Yeah, oddly enough, and I think we had some fun on Twitter this week, just going back and forth with Wiz fans. And I think, definitely we're big NBA fans, big Wiz fans. We're definitely going to give them plenty of love as the season starts. For sure. There's news to discuss. And, oddly enough, I just feel very similar to the Commanders. I mean, I want to be optimistic. I like the Johnny Davis pick. I like the Kyle Kuzma quite a bit, and some of the people we've picked up. Porzingis, if he's healthy, I mean, if he's giving you 20 plus and shot blocking presence and rebounding presence, and just a good teammate. I think that we talked a little bit about Rui, but Rui has added a high percentage 3-point shooter now. He does work the rest of it. He plays D, he works the boards. Maybe never going to be a superstar, but could definitely be a solid player. I want to be excited about it. I mean, I still think you're looking at, best case, maybe a 6th seed, maybe a 7th, 8th play-in. We'd feel pretty good about that, but hopefully a winning record. But, yeah, I think if they stay healthy, get Beal back, not contending quite yet, but they could make a little bit of noise.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, for me, I agree with your take. This actually reminds me of a different Commanders era, personally. This reminds me of the 2015 to 2018 Commanders, the Kirk era. Right. Particularly the 2016 season particularly. This reminds me of where it's like we were 8-7 that year, 8-7-1. Kirk made it to the Pro Bowl that year. But you knew Kirk wasn't the guy to be the guy and you knew you didn't have the rest of the team there, but you had to just put as much into Kirk as you could because that was the best option you had. That kind of feels like what's going on here with the Wiz and with Beal. I think we'd be fooling ourselves at this point to say that Beal is a true number one star player in the NBA. If you look around the league, I mean, if you look at just the teams in the finals, like I think both Boston and Golden State had 2 starters per team better than Beal that you'd rather have on your team. And I love Bradley Beal, but I think between Clay, Steph, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, I think those are 4 bona fide stars in the league that I'd rather have as my number one piece. And let alone, if you look at Brown and Thompson, these are number 2 pieces. So
right.
I think the team, the way it's built right now, obviously Porzingis is a big question mark. And if you look down the rest of the roster, it's kind of like, Kuz.
Question mark because of injury?
Yeah, because of injury. And we just had such a small sample size from what we saw of him last year. And he looked good in that small sample size, but I definitely think it's it's a question mark going forward of how high his ceiling is, and more importantly, how low is his floor. That's kind of my worry about him. Some solid talent in terms of role players around the team, but I just don't think we have the squad to really contend unless we can go add another piece, another star. And with Beal,
that's the trouble. Like the ceiling is sort of 6 seed, 6 to 8. It's probably the ceiling.
That's the thing.
It'd be a good step. It'd be a good step forward. I would take it.
If you just, I agree. But I mean, if you just look real quick at the East, Milwaukee, Boston, Miami, Brooklyn, Philly. Can we really crack any of those 5 teams? No.
Well, the only one I would dismiss is Brooklyn. They're
Brooklyn, depending on what happens next year, right? But
they're falling apart.
And of course, the New York Knicks. That's trouble. That's trouble over there. Shout out Stephen A. He had way more fun with that bit than we can this week. Definitely go check that out. But so with that, I mean, I think we got a pretty good NBA coverage there. We definitely look forward to talking more about the NBA later on when there's more news and getting towards the season. But what do you say we move on to the people segment this week, Pop?
We kept the people waiting this week. We're going to finish up with the Kickouts of the week. So this one's all you, son.
Yeah, so if you guys have listened to the whole episode, we're getting down to the Kickouts of the week now. So this is your reward for hanging in, enjoying another great episode. Thank you guys always for listening. But Kickouts of the week, for me, it's got to be the RG3 sneak this in on the Commanders. Every chance he gets, had to get it again. Came out there, took a little shot. He said... He was kind of like a compliment sandwich situation. He was like, Commanders could be great next year. Like, they have the most explosive offense since my rookie season in terms of talent. Really. And, of course, he's got to throw in the since my rookie season, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we knew you had 16 really good games.
Well, he wasn't quite as overt as that.
In a decade.
In the last decade.
In a decade. Can we do the math? What is the one year that everybody around DC talks about? 2012. Why? Oh, Robert Griffin III, the guy tweeting. And what's he doing now? Tweeting. Anyways, so he says that. He says the defensive line has all the talent if they can get to hitting guys on the field rather than hitting each other. And I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. But he basically takes a jab at the fact that the defensive line was getting in fights. On the sideline.
Yeah, he says stop fighting on the sidelines and start fighting in the trenches was the exact quote.
There you go. Thank you, Pop. But so obviously just a stupid thing to say, right? But that's kind of been, no offense to RG3, that's kind of been his thing. He's been known to have kind of more shock jock comments since he got into sports broadcasting to kind of make the headlines and start making waves.
No offense, you're giving him a Kickouts, man.
Hey, we've talked about how
there's a little bit of offense.
I'm okay. You know what? I'm okay with it. I'm trying to keep it soft. I don't really care. I mean, maybe he takes a shot at us. It'll get some viewership.
It's all in fun. It's all in fun.
But yeah, of course.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, go ahead. Let us know exactly how you feel, Robert. Go ahead. Just make sure to mention our YouTube and our Twitter while you're at it. But so Deron Payne responds and he says, "Who crowned you king?" And then he goes on to call him a turf eater later, which
Oh my God.
I thought was just hysterical. I don't know. I'm on Team Payne here. I don't know how you feel about it, Pop.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I like the fact that Payne is, because he's a guy that we've had some questions about in terms of just his long-term future with the team, and of course the spat that he got in with Jonathan Allen, and I totally agree. Look, I mean, people that know me probably think I'm pretty quiet, laid back guy for the most part. But when I played sports, I was pretty hot headed at times, and a couple of argument on the sideline, a little pushing match. I mean, it's nothing. You want teammates to be passionate. So yeah, but again, like you said, it's a little bit of an opportunity for the shock jock approach with RG3. It's entertaining, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Robert.
It's just such a dumb situation because everybody, like, the first thing everybody went to with that punch situation, which was so crazy, was like, oh, these guys have had long time boiling tension since they've been in Alabama together, and they're, it's finally coming to a head. And it's like, or they consider each other to be brothers, and sometimes the people you love the most get the furthest under your skin when they upset you. Anybody thought of that? And of course, they both come out and they're like, yeah, we're brothers. Brothers fight. Like, that's just how it goes. Come on. The guys aren't going to lie about that, So the fact that it's still being talked about by the national media, so dumb. There's plenty of other things to talk about. Talk about those. Come on. So Kickouts to RG3 on that. And yeah, man, I mean, great episode. Pop put together a hell of an outline this week. Shout out to you. Dad handles all the production for the team, and he always brings the topics to talk about. Really great job this week. I had a blast talking about all these things.
Son.
So
thanks for that.
Of course, yeah. So anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up, or are you feeling pretty good? I'm feeling good.
No, I feel good. It's like you said, it was a fun episode again. Always fun doing these with you, and thanks for the support for everybody. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We do appreciate the support. Last week seemed to get a lot of positive feedback and listens, so keep it up. Keep it going.
Definitely, yeah. Thanks again, guys, for everybody that's listening and checking us out. And yeah, without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
And thank you guys so much for listening.
Love me, baby. Oh.